Welcome to East Coast DNA. I'm Andrew Walsh, and this is my brother,
Darcy Walsh.
We have a double interview episode coming up today. We planned on a double interview at the same time, but we split it up, so there's a big show coming up. It will be this week when you're listening to it. So we have Ian with us now. There
Hello,
he is.
Ian.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and who you are, or where you're from, or what band you're in? Just give us a little quick bio.
So my name is Ian Kean, and I play guitar and sing for the local punk rock / rock group, The Bloody Hell. And we're based here out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. And we're super excited to be talking to you guys today. And we're super excited about this big gig coming up. And and to just get back out there and start playing again. It's been a while.
And why don't you tell us what the gig is before? I'm sure most people listening will know at this point, but who's
what was the question? Sorry.
Who else is playing this show next week or this week?
Oh, it is Propagandhi. Probably the biggest Canadian punk band that there is.
Yeah.
Legendary in their own rights. So they'll be headlining the show. And then there is Worst Part and Cluttered, two local bands, two of my favorite local bands actually, which is amazing. So, and then us, The Bloody Hell.
There we go.
So, Ian, you and I had a conversation back when we started this podcast. When I was doing my experiments, a little bonus episode I did just focused on some of the heavier side of the East Coast stuff.
Yep.
What, if any, connection do you have to those two other bands? Is it just that you're all in the same area? And I mean,
we all have cassette tapes.
Yeah. All have cassettes. You've all got the punk attitude. I mean, it's all different. It's all AJ, different genres, kind of.
AJ, who plays in Cluttered, helped record our latest recordings. He was in the studio.
That's what I was looking for.
That and I've known Dylan, the drummer for Cluttered, for a while now.
Okay.
I would say going on 10 years almost. So
he's awesome.
He's he's another level. I played drums for a long time. That's how I met Dylan. Is he took over for me in a band one time when I moved out to Vancouver. So the Black Rats was the name of that band. So Dylan's next level drummer. He's unbelievable. So.
And so for some of the people that didn't listen to that first interview too, that you spent you said, I think roughly 15 years playing in different cover bands and playing mostly drums, was it, around the city?
Yeah, no, I was exclusively a drummer for about 15 years, playing around in some cover bands and some original bands, everything from country to prog rock to rockabilly. That was the Black Rats, the one that Dylan ended up playing in.
Oh, okay. So it makes sense that from my research into all the bands that Dylan and AJ were names that would tie you into other things, because they're also people that are in all different, like their fingers are all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. It's
their names pop up.
The music scene in Halifax is pretty incestuous, so it's
and AJ especially. Every time I watch somebody play, he's on the stage. Even if I have no way of knowing he's connected to the band, I always see him somewhere on stage helping.
So he when last time we went into the studio, Fang Recording, it's called now. It was New Scotland Yard Studio.
Okay.
They've changed their name to Fang. He was one of the engineers that was there, and we were happy to have him around because he's great guy to be around and super knowledgeable, and anytime you can have someone like that, even just in the same room as you, it's fantastic. So.
And so your drummer Kyle from The Bloody Hell, and do you know him from those days as well?
Kyle and I played in a Pink Floyd cover band at one time.
Okay.
And then we had another kind of original rock band that we got a demo done, and then it kind of fell apart. So that was back in my days of playing the drums and Kyle playing guitar. We've switched roles in this band.
Sure.
Kyle's a fantastic guitar player and a fantastic drummer and just an all-around really talented guy. So
so in 2017 you formed a band with also Joe and is James the other guy?
James, yes. Yes.
So,
So Joe wasn't in the band originally.
Okay.
He's been with us for about 6 months now. So,
Oh, okay.
but I've known Joe outside of music for over a decade, and he's one of my favorite people. So we're
Awesome.
stoked to have him in the band because he's a great musician as well.
And it seems like for the first album, you did you scattered 3 singles, and then released like a self-titled album. Is that how you kind of approach that?
Yeah, the first one had one single released before the album,
Okay.
and then 4 more singles released after the album release. So we released Evil Everywhere. That was our first single and video in February of 2018. Full album release was June of 2018. And then October 2018 was the Diggin' single. And then we did Uncharted in the spring of 2019. Out of Our Minds in the fall of 2019, and Last Word in early 2020.
Okay. And for your music videos, I know that's really important to have the visual component for your band as well. But I'm going to
Yeah,
ask that
it's something we focus on a lot.
So anyone listening, check out the link tree, which we'll have in the description here, and actually watch the videos. And if you want to know a little bit more about them, Ian, Kean, and I sat down and talked about this a couple months ago. So we get a little bit more into depth there. I do want to ask you about some more updated stuff because it's been a few months since we have talked. I know back then we had talked about there was the Canadian independent music video promotion thing that was going on at the time, but there was also something else. I don't think we actually talked about it. There was a Canadian punk covers compilation that you guys were selected to be on.
Yeah.
So did that come out?
No, it hasn't come out yet because there's a vinyl shortage apparently. So it's
yeah.
We're like backlogged to press it, but all the songs are in, all the songs are mixed and mastered and ready to go. The artwork is done, everything is done except the pressing. I think it's supposed to be, last I heard, was this summer coming out.
Okay.
So the concept is 16 different bands from 16 different cities in Canada covering old underground punk rock from Canada.
Cool. Okay.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, it's a covers compilation, and we're representing Halifax on it, which is awesome. And we're covering Barbara by Modernettes,
Awesome.
which is an old punk song that came out in 1981 or 2 or something like that. Fantastic song. I've always loved it. As soon as it was mentioned to us, originally I wanted to cover a Gob song. But the person that was putting it together suggested like nothing too mainstream, like try to keep it
dig deeper,
underground a little bit. So we went for Barbara by Modernettes.
Awesome. And so for the new album, like I said about the music videos, you did have 2 singles that have already been released in advance for the new album.
Yes.
And we were talking just before we started recording here. You have a new single coming out from this upcoming album.
Yeah, we have 3 more songs completely done and mastered and just ready to go. Unfortunately, the way things go and with COVID and everything, it's been like a piecemeal kind of album that we're putting together here, where our first one was recorded in 2 sessions and that was it, right? Like we did 4 songs in one session, 4 songs in another session, and then it was mixed and mastered and ready to go. This one has been much more piecemeal as we go, kind of as we can afford it. There was all the stuff with the pandemic, so we couldn't even be in the same room with each other. You know what I mean? But we tried to keep moving forward, and we tried to keep going into the studio as much as we could. So everything that we've done, the 2 that have been released, When You're Gone and Nobody Cares About America Anymore, they were recorded one at a time. Like we would go, like it would be whoever's turn it was and the engineer, and that was it because of all the COVID restrictions and stuff. And then same as the 3 other ones that we have done, were all recorded piecemeal like that, one at a time, just because of all the restrictions. We prefer to do it live off the floor, so you can capture the energy of the band playing in the same room with each other as well. But unfortunately, we weren't able to do that for the last couple years, so it's been a little bit slower than we'd like to, but
Totally
hopefully we're
different
going to
feel
get
in the
back
studio too, right?
Excuse me?
It feels totally different in the studio too when you're not there as a unit, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but you know, it's they still turned out great. Like we're still extremely happy with what we've produced, and you know, our engineer Alex Burris, he gets us and he gets what we're trying to do, and we love working with him, and he produces fantastic results for us. So, um, when the album will be complete is still, you know, I have no idea, kind of thing. We're gonna get back in and hopefully do 2 more songs here soon.
Okay.
We've just been focused on this gig for the last 4 or 5 months, just making sure we're getting tight and have our set down.
So is it exciting to be able to practice the new songs? Like being you didn't get to record them together in the same room, but now you must be playing them to get ready for the show on the 19th.
Yeah, so we're playing 3 of the new songs we have recorded, 3 of the 5 of new songs that we have recorded at the gig. And then because we haven't played live since 2019, since Music Week 2019. So
oh wow,
November of 2019. Yeah. So because of that, we're also going to play 3 brand new songs that nobody's ever heard before.
And is there hints in your social media posts as to what those song titles may be? Is that lyrics? When you I notice when you do social media posts,
Feel It Too.
Yeah, I was wondering because I've seen a repeating theme of certain words in different places, and I made a couple notes to ask you. But yeah, that's exactly.
So there'll be one called Feel It Too, which is a song we're all really excited about. We feel it's one of our strongest efforts yet. Really upbeat, got a great chorus. James is ripping solos and great melodies and stuff. So we're excited about that one. We don't have it recorded yet. We have it demoed as well as another one. I posted on social media a jam space demo or like a video of Joe recording bass to a demo of a song called I Don't Care.
Okay.
And all these songs will be on the new album. They're the next ones to get recorded, the 3 that we're going to play at the show.
So with the restrictions lifting lately, I mean, obviously we all want to be cautious going forward too, but does that give I'm just going to assume that helps you with the recording a little bit because it gives you some more options, but I'm more specifically wondering now, because your visual component being so important, are you looking at filming some music videos for these songs over the next few months? Or
Absolutely. Okay. So we've done some camera tests and some shot ideas and stuff for our next single, which will be called Hideaway, which we actually decided not to play at this show, just because we wanted to throw in some of the newer ones. So we have some rough ideas down, and we've done a bunch of camera tests and stuff. And but again, our focus has just been, we just decided to really focus on this show and make sure that we're bringing our A game kind of thing. So
awesome. Yeah.
Everything else has been on the back burner a little bit. We're also working on a whole bunch of covers, as well as the Barbara cover. We're doing a bunch of other covers and shooting video in our jam space that we're going to release just to like throw them on the internet and have some fun with it. Covers that people might not expect, some that people might expect.
I love punk covers, actually. It's when I used to work at the record store, it was when they used to have the compilations for like $5-10, and it was like 20 punk bands on it. Like Fat Records would put them out like every couple months. So those are my exposure to most of these bands like Propagandhi. Like that's how I know them, is from those compilations back then. So
cool.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to hear your take on a few songs.
Now, when you said that,
we're gonna do some old classic rock songs, a Sabbath song or two, and some, punk up some Beatles songs. They always translate really well. So I think that'll be after this gig is out of the way. I think we'll be releasing some of those cover songs. We have one of them recorded and filmed and stuff already. We were gonna release it for 420. But I ended up being really sick that week, so I just couldn't. Yeah, I didn't get COVID, but I got a terrible stomach bug, and I was bedridden for like 5 days. So,
I was going around that too. Yeah.
I know a few people
Yeah,
that had this.
we had everything set to go, but I couldn't even get out of bed to upload stuff to YouTube and share links and stuff like that. So we kind of, unfortunately, it didn't get released as we planned, but we still have it done. So, so we'll put it out eventually. So yeah, I think aside from finishing the album, we'll be releasing a bunch of these video covers over the summer, and hopefully playing some more gigs.
You said that making music videos was important to you as a band. Is that just because we all had cassette tapes, or is it you want to portray the message more visually as well?
Well, I write very thematically, so every song has like a strong theme to it. Like you said, when I post on social media, I try to use the same themes and really drive the branding home. And the videos to that are just another way of storytelling that goes with the songs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've studied film, I've gone to school for it and stuff like that. So I have an upper hand on producing music videos and editing them and stuff like that. So,
So it's all done in house, right?
Not always. We've worked with the two that were nominated for the Canadian Independent Music Awards were done by a stop motion artist in BC named Diane Lindo. So we've reached out to people and worked with them before. Our Nobody Cares About America Anymore video. The animations were done by an animator in Mexico who I found through Instagram, and we hit it off, and he loved our band. I loved his animation style. So we collaborated on that. So it's not always done in-house, but I have nice cameras and good gear, and I do film and photography on the side anyway.
Awesome.
So
Perfect.
I have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to that. And
it really helps with the do-it-yourself. We try not to get too much into genres on here, but I mean, you can't help it with music. It's inevitable, right?
Yeah,
But you're really, punk is do-it-yourself.
Yeah.
That's really the only, because even when I said like for this show on the 19th, 4 great bands, if you played them for somebody that doesn't listen to punk music and said this is punk, they'd be like, those bands don't sound anything alike.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So it really is the attitude more so than the music itself.
And like I've been making merch all week, buttons, stickers. I'm putting together a VHS actually of all of our videos and stuff and stuff. Yeah, because we have a whole bunch of videos and live stuff that are just dying to be on the worst format possible. So
actually, you know what, my eldest might it's not her genre, but she's a big horror movie fan.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm sure that the VHS would be something she'd like to add to her own collection too.
Well, see, we've found, like, we've had albums pressed and download cards and streaming and YouTube and all that, but we find that most people, if they're gonna buy a physical copy of your music, they're gonna buy a cassette tape. And I think it's because, like, I collect cassette tapes as well, and I think it's because if you go to a band's merch table, even if you don't necessarily love the band, or like there's been examples where like I didn't even see the opening bands, but they have a cassette tape for sale, and I'll spend $5-10 to buy it. You know what I mean? Just because I'm a cassette collector. Yeah, see, exactly.
I just rickrolled on the camera there.
There you go. Yeah.
Pretty good.
So I find, like, as with vinyl as well, we've yet to go into pressing vinyl. The new album will probably get pressed on vinyl. Who knows? But it's the same thing. It's like those people that appreciate those formats of media. If they see that you have that available, they're gonna buy it. So
sure.
It sounds more like they buy a cassette tape as a collector's item too than a CD. Right? They're going to buy it to own the physical copy more.
Yeah. So we have cassettes and CDs, and we sell, probably 3 or 4-fold more cassettes than we do CDs.
Yeah, the novelty of it too, right?
So, yeah, exactly. So I also collect VHS and stuff, and I recently bought a bunch of VHS that had like blank cassettes in them. So I was like, all right, I'll put all of our music videos and promos and some live footage together and make a whole package. So I have an hour-long VHS that I've been putting together, which is going to be for sale, which we're very excited about because
That is really
know.
I still have a VHS from high school of my band. Actually, Darcy recorded it from
Okay, cool.
97, probably that was.
Yeah.
And it's still the tape sitting around. It still plays.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect.
yeah.
You know, and we got to make yourself stand out somehow. So.
Well, and I have Andrew's VCR in my closet.
Well, there you
So
go.
now you're going to cause us to have a fight because we're going to want to buy your video.
Well,
He's going to want the VCR back.
Yeah.
You'll have to get together and watch it over beers, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with the merchandise and stuff, do you have any T-shirts or anything coming out as well? Okay.
Yep. So we'll have 2 different kinds of shirts. There are shirts that we had made before COVID, so a couple years ago now, and then we just got a small run of new shirts done. Again, stickers, patches, fridge magnets.
So I imagine anyone listening on the 18th when this comes out that is also a ticket holder for the 19th, because that show is sold out at the Marquee.
It is sold out, yeah.
But anyone going should bring some cash, because you're going to have a merch table with a bunch of different stuff on it.
I mean, not just us, but
yeah.
You know, but I mean, the way we saw it is that, like, if there's going to be, you know, 800 to 900 people there or whatever it is, we, you know, might as well stock the merch table up, because that's a lot of people that could potentially buy some merch. So
yeah.
I'm a big sucker for anything novelty and a little bit of a music nerd and a collector myself. So I love merch tables. I've operated merch tables. I've visited them nonstop, and I'm always disappointed when there's not one.
You ran a merch store out of your basement for a while.
Yeah. A couple of years. So
yeah, exactly. So it's
I just love it. So I'm excited to see, and I'm sure, I mean, we're going to be talking to Matty coming up here on the same episode too, but I'm sure between Matty's like 30,000 bands, there must be a couple items showing up on the table there too. So definitely, I'm just as excited to see the merch table as I am to see the show.
Sweet.
Which is sad to say for the artist, but it's your product that I'm talking about as well. So
I just, to go back to the cassette tape thing, a friend of mine works at Gus's, and Matty was playing there, and there was a cassette. I wasn't even at the show, and my friend texted me and said, "Oh, there's this cassette. Do you want me to pick it up for you?" I said, "Absolutely."
And it's something you can throw in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
I love vinyl, but I don't own that many records. It's hard to walk around with it. If you're going to be at a show, you don't want to walk around with it during the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a cassette's something you can just slip in a breast pocket and back pocket, whatever you want, go about your way.
Yeah, so I'm looking to pick up, you know, I have both Worst Parts cassettes already, and Matty's solo release. I'm not sure if they're going to have any more cassettes, but hopefully Propagandhi might have one. I have 2 old Propagandhi cassettes from like 1991.
Oh, that's cool.
Kind of
do
thing.
you?
Yeah. So, I was thinking about bringing it and trying to get him to sign it, but I didn't want to be, you know.
Do it. I have a whole shelf.
I
have a whole shelf. I have no shame. If I can get in front of somebody with a marker and something that they recorded, I'm asking them to sign it. So
I did that when I played with Green Jello. I have the CD, and I was like, I should take it and ask Bill to sign it. I was like, I don't want to do that. I felt weird, but I wish I did. So just bring it. It'll fit. Just throw it in your guitar case.
They used to have this horror thing in Tatamagouche. It's called Summer of Fear, and they had like Kane Hodder, who played Jason, and the guy who played Leatherface. I'm blanking on his name right now. It's not Rutger Hauer. It's something like that. Anyway, I'm a huge VHS collector and all those old horror movies, and I was like, I should bring them and get these people to sign them, but I didn't, and I'll always regret it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I could have a signed copy of Friday the 13th Part 6 or whatever, right? Like, but
before I did podcasting, that was how I had an excuse to go talk to someone. Even like if I wanted to talk to someone like you, I'm at your show, pick up your album, I just walk over, I'm like, hey, good set, can I get your signature? And I might throw in a question. If I was listening to you before I went to the show, I might be like, oh, that video you did, who did the animation? Like stuff like that, especially back in the day. I'm a little older than some of our listeners. I can remember before internet when there was no way to Google that question. You had to ask the person. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting up there too. I remember life before internet.
Yeah.
Is there any way to buy? This is just a purely personal question. I was actually going to ask you outside of the podcast, but I only saw it online because I'm not in the city. But there's a poster that's like it has like that kind of Art Deco print, and it's like a boy's face, and it has all the bands listed for the show on the 19th. Did you see that one online?
I did see that, and I think it was made by someone in San Francisco. Like I tried to
I want to know if
out-
there's a
figure
lithograph
out
to
who
buy.
made that. Yeah.
I
So
would like
I
to.
followed the person that made it on Instagram, and they like a fantastic work, and I think it's out of San Francisco or something like that. So I'm not sure what the connection is and where that poster came from, but I love it. I absolutely love that poster.
It reminds me. Do you remember like Melvins? The Melvins.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of their artwork was done by the same guy, and he did a lot of tour posters back in the day in that area.
Yeah.
So a lot of the bands that would have been around late 90s probably at one point or another had a cool tour poster done just by the same guy.
Yeah.
So they were all different, but they were similar style.
Yeah.
And it really reminded me of that. And that was my question was, can you purchase that somewhere as a lithograph or a print somewhere? That would be cool.
Not that I'm aware of, but like, you know.
I mean, I'm capable of making my own these days, but
yeah, I mean, if you could, I would pick one up too, honestly.
Yeah.
I really like that poster. It's really, it gives me Evil Empire, Rage Against the Machine vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're going to, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was closing it. So if you have a question, go ahead.
That was what I was going to say is, did you have anything else? Because I think I just went through my notes and I think I covered everything. The new album is what I'm really excited to hear, but hopefully I'm up close and personal watching you guys tomorrow night for the people listening on the 18th.
And right now we can listen to Dead to Me from that new album.
Yes.
The band is Bloody Hell. Anything you want to say about the song?
It's a song that we've been kicking around for years, and again, we recorded it one at a time, and it came out fantastic, and we're super happy with it. Happy to get it going, and it's a true story.
Oh, cool.
Oh, there you go.
It's shrouded in vague metaphors, but it's a true story.
Perfect.
So people can dig into the lyrics now and potentially see a video down the road sometime for this one?
Yeah, there will be a video for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And while you're listening,
So
if you know Ian, you can think,
already...
is this about me?
No, it's not about you. You're not dead to me yet.
Yeah. All right, so this is Bloody Hell, Dead to Me, and we'll be back with Matty Grace.
Once in a woman, man, she was fine. Gave me a sweet loving all the time. Fellas, let me tell you what happened next. She came home with 5 marks on her neck. Now she's out for blood.
Welcome back. That was Dead to Me by Bloody Hell. And as we mentioned, we're here now with Matty Grace. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, how are you folks doing?
We're good. We're good. I'm good. I can't speak for Darcy.
The sun's out and it was my last day for my current job, so
Oh, that rules.
I'm doing pretty good today anyway.
Yeah.
Monday will be different when I start my new job. And it's supposed to rain on Monday, so yeah. I'll live it up for the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, soak it up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we know of you. We interviewed you previously. And when we started this podcast, I said we could interview Matty again and get a chance to talk to Matty again. And that was kind of one of the exciting things about doing this was people that we've met that we want to come back and stick around to.
Yeah, totally.
And, I think our interview with you kind of opened my eyes to how much is out there in Halifax that I like. I created a Matty Grace playlist over the last week just to kind of get the songs in my head before we interview. Yeah. And I never hit skip once. And then this morning I woke up to an email that we'll talk about it in a little bit here. And 4 more songs that I didn't skip once. So enjoy the music.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. It's dope. It's like I'm really happy with like how things are going and like kind of the variety of output and like the different things I'm doing. Like it's like spinning a lot of plates or like juggling or whatever, but like it rules.
So is this taking up like 40 hours a week full time for you, or is this over a span of time that you got this much out there?
I don't really keep track. It's just like I fill in the gaps in the space and time that I have available to do it. And I carve out a lot of time to do the thing. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like I still work jobs and I still like, you know, have to be a cog in the capitalist machine and like do the thing to like pursue this. But it's definitely like, you know, I consider this like part of the work that I do.
Yeah.
So like it's something that like I'm working on constantly, thinking about constantly. I'm on my phone so much because like you kind of have to be your own manager and social media manager and like, you know, the thing you're alluding to, we did that totally DIY on ourselves. And so we had to do all like the press and the PR and like all of that stuff. And, you know, there is support for it, but like there's not really support yet at a level where it's like infinitely sustainable. So it's like, you know, I'm still just like, just a cog.
Yeah. You've been doing a lot of travel too with the band, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We've Cluttered toured in November and I've been hanging out in Ottawa for the last couple months. So I just kind of like bounce back and forth. Hence I'm in Halifax right now. We're getting ready for shows. I'm playing with Worst Part, as well as Cluttered, next Thursday on the 19th for the Propagandhi show. So there's a little bit of like, I got to get some practices in. I got to get some reps in and like, I'm here to work and it's the thing that I love to do. So why wouldn't I spend all my time doing it?
Yeah. Of all the things I do, I think playing music is probably the one that is the most enjoyable.
Yeah, it's the one that just like keeps me existing. Like I don't understand, like, you know, teach their own and how folks do this, but like people who kind of maybe age out of playing music or age out of punk or whatever, and they you know, they have other life commitments and they have other things that come up and they do those things, and it's just kind of like a not option for me. Like right now at this point in time, like I'm not gonna just be like, gotta go back to school, gotta get a job. Like it's like, no, like I'm here to do this and to like pursue my life as an artist.
Yeah.
Because we're all going down in flames anyway. I might as well just try my best while I'm here.
Yeah, I saw on TikTok, Jim Carrey, he did a speech. I don't know if it was new or old, but he said his dad had a job. He went to comedy, couldn't do it because he couldn't sustain a living off it. He didn't think he could succeed at it. He thought he'd fail. So he got the 9-to-5 job. 12 years later, got fired. Family was broke, lost their house. So he said, you might as well fail at what you want to do instead of failing at what you don't want to do. And that's, it kind of hits, right? So,
oh, completely. Yeah. And it's, you know, if you're stoked on what you're doing and it's resonating with people in like any level or any capacity, then like you're never really failing.
Yeah.
Like just because you're not maybe financially secure, or you're not like making money off of something, or you're, you know, existing kind of in this like weird limbo of just like, you know, paycheck to paycheck or whatever.
Yeah.
Like if you're still like, I made this thing and I'm really proud of it and people are listening to it and I'm stoked. Like um my old band slash, we've had a new release on May 6th, Future Girls. We put out our year-long winter EP, and just like the reception that's gotten, got a pin. Because like I didn't expect people would be that stoked on this EP. Like we put out a record in like 2018 and I love that record and I think it's great. But you know, it didn't really get the same kind of like traction or headway that this new one did. And people are like saying really kind things about it and are just like very, you know, maybe it's a place and time thing, but like people are really stoked on it. And it's just like really nice because we like how it was done and how we set it up and all of those things, like just to have it put out and then like be like, oh, this exists now, people can listen to it, and then like people are like writing about it and like being like, this is very good, this is very strong songwriting, and then like, you know, they're complimenting like elements that I was really like focusing on, and it's really nice for like other people to read into that and see what I was like actually trying to do.
Yeah.
So it's pretty sweet. Like I am doing my best, enjoying pursuing being an artist.
Yeah. When you make art and people understand that art, it feels a lot better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's human, right? Like I'm just some like queer person with their heart on their sleeve. Like I've always been that way, and it's always been something that like is something that is really important to me. Just even in the sense of like an artistic integrity standpoint. Like I'm not going to go on stage and like not sing about something I know, or I'm not going to write a song that's not just like near and dear to my heart. You know, I'll write in metaphor and I'll write whatever, but it always comes back down to like a thing that I've experienced, or a thing that you have experienced at some point, or like a universal connection or something.
Yeah.
And it's really important. Like that's kind of the core of like my songwriting and kind of my being, is just being like an open and honest person about all of this stuff.
It must be nice to get all the attention too, because kind of like you're saying about you're doing the music that you want to do more so than writing a song for a type of person that would like you. So
yeah.
You've been doing that all along, but right now it seems like you're getting a lot of exposure. Like all of your projects are getting attention at the same time.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It feels very special. It feels very like, you know, like a lot of hard work and a lot of years of just being like staunch DIY ethics and like, you know, playing the right shows and standing up for the right thing and doing things in a way that feels like honest and authentic to me is kind of paying off. And maybe it's like right place, right time, or maybe it's like people are catching up, or maybe like there's space for my voice now. Maybe at one point there wasn't as much space for a voice like mine, but now I'm in a position where it's like, no, like there's a level of quality to the thing I do, and everything's a little bit different, but like, you know, it's definitely like I'm just who I am, honestly, like first and foremost. Like you know, I'm just trying my best, really.
That's all you can do.
And for those side projects, I know you had some notes, because as you had mentioned, you've been listening to it quite a bit the last few weeks.
The EP that came out this morning, we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming out. It's a collaboration doing Enemy You covers.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
Okay, so I'll give you the whole story. Talk Show Host are a band from Toronto. They released their full-length record last year on the same day that we released Accidents, our second EP. And it ended up that we kind of crossed paths on Twitter. Their bass player is very active on Twitter, and we just kind of crossed paths, and it was like, this is rad, and their band is great. Like Mid-Century Modern by Talk Show Host is one of my favorite records of last year. It's so good. The songwriting is just like impeccable. And so we played some shows together in Toronto because like you meet people and you kind of meet them like as internet friends or whatever. Yeah. And you know, you never really know if you're going to like actually hit it off with them. Like you can admire somebody's music, but like, are you actually going to hit it off? And so we played a couple shows with them. And then like the first show was in Montreal, and like they crushed it and it was great. And then we played in Toronto, and then like just they're from Toronto, so we hung out afterwards, and then we realized that we're kind of like all on the same page. And like Chris, their front person, and myself are both like kind of shy and kind of weird, and like you know, got along very well. Yeah. Like Chris recently said, in like the 12 years of playing music or whatever, Chris has given his phone number to 2 people to text, and I'm one of the 2 people. Like we talk all the time. We're just pals. Yeah. And so it came about, they were on a podcast called the Punk Lotto Pod. And what the Punk Lotto Pod does is it picks a year and it assigns an album to that. Like they pick a year, and then the guests pick an album that they want to talk about. And so they picked like 1999. So they did the Short Music for Short People compilation, which if you remember, that was a Fat Wreck comp where there's 101 bands, 30-second songs or less.
We talked about it on this episode during the interview with Ian.
Nice. Yeah. So they talked about it, and I made some obnoxious tweet that was like, the best songs on that comp are the Dillinger 4 song and the NMEU song. Listen to more NMEU. NMEU were a California punk band from the late 90s, early 2000s. Had a release on Panic Button, which was a Lookout Records adjacent label. Had a release on Fat, and had a release on Red Scare before getting signed to Nitro, and then shelving a record for Nitro. And so, you know, a little bit of notoriety, but never like a huge name. But like the lyrics in those songs, the songs themselves, like everything is very... like it's so heartfelt and it's so earnest, and it's so just like it just is what I'm drawn to. It's just like honest music. And so I love NMEU straight up. I think NMEU are a great band. And so Chris messages me and is like, are you all playing Pooza? And I was like, yeah. It's like, are you playing Pooza? It's like, yeah. I was like, would you all cover NMEU and let me sing? And they were like, yeah, totally. We should record that. And then it was, well, what if Cluttered did an NMEU song and like Chris sang? And we're like, okay, that's cool. And I was like, well, what if we do 4 songs in total? We'll each pick 2, do the thing, assemble it as an EP, put it out in time for Pooza, because Pooza Fest is the weekend of May 20th. And then we're going to both be in the same place. So like I can get up and sing my songs with them, and Chris can get up and sing his songs with us. And Chris came up with the name Enemy Us, and then we just like, we conceptualized it in February, we recorded it in March, we mixed it in April and mastered it in April, and then it's online. It came out today, which is May 13th. So by the time that this airs, it'll already be out and you can listen to it. It's sweet. Like the whole thing with doing like covers and like kind of fully enmeshing the bands is like, it's DIY and it's like punk friendship, and it's like, you know, like all of the songs have Becca and Sean from Talk Show Host doing backups. I do backups on Chris's songs as well. And then like I sing too, and Chris sings too. And so it's just like, it's this very strange, like fully immersed like band thing, but it sounds super cohesive. Somehow it makes a lot of sense. The track listing flows really well. Like Talk Show Host tried to kind of changed up one of the songs a lot. The version of Where No One Knows My Name, which is one of the songs I picked, they like kind of slowed it down and like put more emphasis on certain things. 72 Hours is a little more like straight ahead, like the feel was right. And then for the Cluttered songs, I was just like, we should just play these like faster. Like, let's just make them sound like Cluttered songs and we'll just play them faster. And so I'm really stoked on it. And if that means that somebody's going to go out and like research this band that not a lot of people know about, or like maybe know from the Short Music for Short People comp for the song Bedroom Windows, which is a great song. You know, unfortunately, the front person for NMU, David Jones, passed away a bunch of years ago. They had kind of like stopped being a band and then reunited to record a song called Adios to You for a comp on the label Red Scare Industries. And that was the last NMU song before David passed away. And so it kind of has a very like, it has kind of like a darker tone to it. Like the first time you'd listen to the song, you'd be like, oh, Adios to You, like it's like a relationship breakup song. It could be something like that. And then it's like, no, this is kind of like a signing off, like peace out, I'm done. So Chris chose that song and a song called Something New. I chose 72 Hours and Where No One Knows My Name. And we just like smushed it all together and it came out today. Fab, who plays bass and talk show host, did most of the PR. I did a little bit of help. We just like collaborated on like who was going to do what, how it was going to get online, how we were going to do the thing. Dylan mixed our songs. Their friend Olive in France mixed their songs, and I'm really proud of it. It's really cool to be like, yeah, we have a new release, but it's covers of a band that you probably haven't heard of, and we're switching singers, and it's so weird, and it's just like trying to find a way to succinctly explain this idea. Like, you can tell that I smoke weed. You can tell that I smoke cannabis because you're just like, wow, that's like literally a high thought, and you conceptualized it and turned it into a thing. And I was like, yeah, like
when I was listening to it, I kind of forgot it was a covers EP as I was listening to it. And then when I was done, I went back and listened a second time so I can listen to it as a covers EP. So I'm definitely going to check out more NMU. And I actually listened to it while I was weeding my front flower garden this morning.
There you go.
So my neighbors were like, why is he bopping around there pulling dandelions? I don't know what's going on.
And like the first song on the EP is 72 Hours, which like is a cool song. But then there's like, you know, it's kind of like one of the lyrics in it is kind of like the sign of the times. Like, I'm still the same old kid. I don't get paid. I don't get laid, and I don't really care. And I was like, it's a little juvenile. It's kind of whatever. But like, it's Becca and I singing that line. So it's like two queer people like reclaiming the idea that like that's a queer experience too. Like, I don't get paid. I don't get laid. Like, yeah, you get shut down. Like,
that lyric actually does pop out in that song because I specifically remember that lyric from listening to it this morning before I drove up here today. So
yeah,
it works.
It works, and it's like it's pretty cool. And like it's just like it's the whole EP was just like an act of friendship. It was just like because like Chris and I had talked about this a little bit on another interview, and talk show host works kind of slow. It's like, oh, it would be really cool to do a split with this band, and then like 6 months will pass and they're like, maybe we should write some songs for this band, or maybe we should do this, and like it takes them a long time. And I was just like, no, this is the thing we should do. Can you get it done in 3 weeks? Like it's just kind of how I operate. Like I hate sitting on stuff. I hate the waiting process. I kind of hate like
it takes away from the enjoyment when you're waiting for it to
right.
Totally.
And like
I overplayed, like I listened to this ad nauseum, like all like getting ready for it, being like, is this good enough? Listening to like unmastered and unmixed things and just like trying to like make sure like it was sequenced properly and everything made sense. And so I gave myself like kind of a break from it for a couple weeks. And then I re-listened to it this morning because like it's release day, you got to listen to the thing, and it rips. Like we did a really good job. And I think we like paid like homage to a cool band that means a lot to me and meant a lot to them. And like I got to introduce that band to my bandmates, like to everyone in Cluttered. I was just like, this is the band, we're going to cover it, it's going to be this, let's go. And like everyone was just like, oh, this rules, how come I haven't listened to this before? How come I didn't find it? And I was like, if you're not tapped into like that world of punk at that time, or you don't trace back every little release a label does, or every little release of like a thing that comes before it, The funny thing is last year or the year before, the Lillingtons, who are a Wyoming pop punk band, they did an NMU tribute record to David Jones. And so I was like, okay, we're going to cover NMU and it'll be fine because like different bands, different demographics, whatever. But I was like, let's not pick any of the same songs. And then the first song I picked was the one they did a video for, and I forgot about it. And I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
The other three are different. Like, I was going to pick a different song, and then the Lillingtons had covered it. And I was like, I can't do two that they had done. Like,
Yeah.
I got to do something different. But it just worked out really well. And
Next album, do a cover album of covers. Just
cover album of covers.
Yeah.
I heard a funny joke recently, which was there's this band from, I believe, Vancouver called Woolworm. Woolworm are a Mint Records band. They're great. Future Girls had played with them at one point, and they did a Halloween show as a Replacements cover band, and then they just came out. But they came out and just played early Goo Goo Dolls songs.
Oh, really?
Because early Goo Goo Dolls just sounds like a Replacements worship band. So it's like, it's pretty sweet. And I was just like, yeah, we could do more covers, but Cluttered has a full length that we're working on.
Awesome.
It's demoed. We're getting ready to do that. And I have written a second full length in the time that we've been recording that. So
like a second Cluttered full length or a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like a second Cluttered full length. So, once we get the album from demo to studio, then we're going to start working on the second one so that we have, another record and we have something ready to go. So when people are like, because people have short memories. And so like we got a little bit more life out of the two EPs we did when we collected them, but people aren't listening, past 6 months or whatever. Like not many people are going back and exploring and like checking through things. So it's always kind of like the reason why we did the split was like, we should have something new for Pooza. This could be fun. Let's do it. Like, we don't have to write originals. We don't have to do anything. Like the songs are there and we can just like build on it from there. And so it was like the only feasible way to do it. And I'm just like really stoked. Like if there's like someone else who listens to NMU for the first time and they notice that there's just these like songs about like isolation and heartbreak and like, sometimes you still feel like that kid in high school who got picked on, who just like doesn't know how to navigate the world. So like if someone else has that experience and it's because of us, then that rules. Like that's for the greater good.
They're universal themes, but it also gives somebody something to connect to and then they want to re-listen. And all these little stories about the connections and the extra thought that you're putting into like your titles and how you're collaborating, everything, like just knowing that gives people another reason to re-listen to, because you go back to it. Kind of like how Andrew said about listening to today's release. Just first to listen to it, see what is it, and then going back and listen to it, realizing like, oh, they're covering stuff, so I'm going to give a different perspective with my ears this time. Knowing all these things, I find myself, that's one of the reasons Cluttered has stayed in my playlist since back in November, is just because I keep running into references about like AJ's name comes up, and I keep seeing him everywhere, and like Becca I knew of through the book buddies and stuff like stuff like that. All those connections keep bringing me back, and Cluttered's one that just keeps popping right back into the forefront, because you're obviously very, very busy. And I had made the comment back when we met, I felt like I was poaching your friends, because as I was networking at Music Week, almost every other person I spoke to, they were in the corner talking to you when I was going to approach them. So you obviously know everybody.
I mean, I've been in the scene for a long time, and I kind of pride myself on being like, I'm a shy weirdo, but I'm like relatively approachable. Mm-hmm. So like folks will be like, oh, Matty's here, so there's something to this or something. It's like it's great. Like June Body played in Ottawa a couple weeks ago, and I ran the show that they were
Cool.
working.
That's
and
fun.
it was just like, they were like, we're so happy to see you. This is great. And I was like, you're in the place that I'm at and we're friends. So like, why wouldn't like
Absolutely.
I come here anyway?
Yeah.
Like, so it was just really nice. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in, like being relatively accessible.
Mhm.
Like, if somebody wants to like talk to me or ask questions or ask things about music or wants to know about like scene etymology and like the links between bands, or like what are rad bands to listen to that are in Halifax, and then I can just like list a bunch of bands. And
You list your 20 bands and then you go off of there.
Yeah.
usually I stick to 2 or 3 of mine.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, I'm in a bunch of projects, but you should listen to Surveillance, or you should listen to Know It's Fine, or like you should check out those bands.
Yeah.
But it's, it's just like scene building. Like if you don't support your scene at home, then why would anyone else give a shit about it? And like, we're so isolated in the East Coast that it's very much like, it's very incestual, but you have to you raise each other up.
Yeah.
Like if you're not supporting your scene, if you don't make it interesting, then why would anybody else come here? Why would anyone else make why would you make an extra 13-hour drive from Montreal just to play Halifax? Like, why would you do something like that?
And that's kind of our goal with this podcast too, is to put focus on the East Coast musicians. Our goal is to kind of keep it all East Coast. And then there's some, I had someone from Montreal approach us. I'm like, I kind of want to, but I kind of want to keep it for now.
They're still
focused on
East.
Not East
Yeah,
Coast.
well,
Yeah.
I think like totally different if they're a person who's like in the scene and has been here for a while, and then like maybe they move away full time. It's still like in the DNA. It's still like they're an East Coast raised musician. But like, I understand.
We did that with Jillian.
Like,
she's in Vermont, but we still talk.
Yeah.
Oh, completely. Jill rules.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely like, like there's a certain caliber of musician that comes out of the East Coast partially from this isolation. Like, there have been bands that have come through that maybe haven't been on anyone's radar that are like have put out some of the best music of the last even 15 years. Like, I'm a little bit biased because Craig Hamlin, who played in Fat Stupids with myself, Craig's band prior to Fat Stupids and kind of concurrently was this band called Tongan Death Grip. And they put out an album called Chula Vista on a German label. And it's a perfect garage power pop record. Awesome. It's like front to back. It's incredible. It's not really on streaming services, but it's on Bandcamp, and it just like, it rules. And like, you go to other places, and if somebody knows that record from that time, they're like, oh yeah, that's like one of the best things to ever come out of the East Coast. And it's like, yeah, like we create really neat, unique, cool things. Maybe just out of boredom.
Well, the isolation in our landscape here, just because like, we all live in different areas, but we're so disconnected physically from a lot of people that I think everyone gets a chance to do what they think is cool, but then sometimes they find out, oh, that's not what other people think is cool. I look weird, but it's still cool. So you get to just be cool being weird, and everybody's doing the same thing, so everyone's got a little different eccentric value to them, right?
And that's kind of I think that's maybe kind of to bring that full circle. I've always just done the thing that felt right and felt cool to me. Like when Future Girls started, it was just like, oh, I'm just listening to like Superchunk and Reviver and the Measure SA, and like bands that like not a lot of people maybe have listened to. Like obviously Superchunk is a huge band, but like I was just like, how can I take those elements and put them into like these songs, and then like maybe people will be stoked on them. And I've just kind of carried that through my career. Like if I'm not kind of stoked all the time on like what I'm making, then why would anyone else be? Because like you spend so many years being like, when you're first learning and you're like in bad bands and you're just like trying to figure out how to be in a good band and trying to figure out all of the elements and like learn how to like book shows and learn how to like make merch and do all of these things. And, you know, there's like, oh, I can't listen to that. I can't listen to my voice, or I can't listen to my own record, or I can't whatever. And then a couple of years ago, I was just like, well, if I can't listen to this, maybe no one else is. Like, maybe I'm too hard on myself, or I'm not like honestly promoting it, or I'm not like, there's just so many things that it could be. And then as I've put out a lot of things in the last couple of years, especially since pandemic. Like I've done so many solo releases and like Modern Cynics and like lots of side projects and Century Egg and Worst Part and all of these bands. And I'm like pretty stoked on all of it. Even if like stuff comes out and it flops and no one really listens to it and it's just like whatever, I still felt okay about it. And then there's a back catalog for people to go back to. So like I put out the I Was a Fat Stupids EP, which sounds nothing like the rest of my solo material, but it maybe made people go back and listen to Fat Stupids. And I put out a solo EP last year called Dysphoria City Limits, which is just like a raw acoustic, like bedroom recording, like kind of lo-fi. And folks who liked that were able to trace back to like a couple EPs or like the Rumination Year album I did at the beginning of 2020. And like, then there's just like this catalog. Like I'm playing a couple times at Pooza. Cluttered is playing. I believe I'm singing with talk show hosts, so we can do those songs. There might be something special that happens at the festival. And I'm playing solo, and I was just like assembling the solo set, and I was like, it's like mostly Future Girls songs, because I was like, that's where I'm at right now. I just want to play a bunch of Future Girls songs, but there's like solo things interspersed, and there's a couple Cluttered songs, and I can just do that. I have this huge catalog to pick through. So I never have to play something I'm not like stoked on all the time.
Sure.
And it feels really good.
So we, speaking of your huge catalog, we usually pick a song before we start talking to play out the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I didn't pick one. So what song would you like to push right now out of your catalog? There's so much on the go.
There's a lot,
even this
there's
year.
a lot new too.
Yeah.
There's a lot new. Let's okay. So I sing on Where No One Knows My Name, which is on the talk show host split. I would say that one. If I had to pick Future Girls, Year Long Winter, that would be the song from that. But I like anything from Cluttered, I'm down with. Anything from that Future Girls EP, I'm down with. Whatever y'all want to pick. Those are my two ideas. But like, I trust you. Like,
Let's go with the Enemy You cover since it's new today. And that'll be the newest thing, and then
Throw the other ones in our YouTube.
we also have a playlist to go with each episode.
nice.
So on that playlist, you'll be all over it. So yeah.
great.
And since the show's going to be like, this will be out on the 18th and the show's on the 19th.
Yeah.
So you're in Worst Part as well.
I am. Worst Part is was kind of my main project right before the pandemic. I was doing solo stuff and I was playing in Worst Part. And fully and honestly, I didn't anticipate Worst Part coming back.
I was wondering that because I wasn't sure if you were even fully in the band. They're a little different than all this other stuff that we've been talking about, because it's not your pop punk. It's very heavy.
Yeah, it's a little stonery. It's a little like Jesus Lizardy. There's like cool things. I was invited to join that band, and I was just like, this is something different. And like, I've played in hardcore bands and I've loved that. And I've like played in all, like, I like different heavy genres. Like I just do. And I love the people in Worst Part. Like, they're just like solid humans. Like Andrew's the best. And Trevor, who played in Scum Grief with Andrew, is playing second guitar. And James, who was in Barlow and a couple other bands, is playing drums now. So we're a 4-piece. And Andrew, that's like Andrew's baby, is just like, I want you to be involved when you can be involved, when you have the capacity, when you're not on tour. Like, I want you to be involved. And we kind of have that pre-established relationship. Like, we know that when I'm around, like, I'm here to work and I'm here to do stuff, and like, let's go. So like, we put out Self Betrayer on May 5th, which is a new song. We're working on a video for it. We did that like a couple nights ago. So that's going to be cool. And we're going to open for Propagandhi, and I'm probably going to wear some kind of disguise so that it's not just me on stage for like 45 minutes. So
You need those glasses with the big nose and the mustache and just
yeah,
Digital Underground.
It's probably going to be like a surgical mask and a hood.
Yeah.
Like something very like, who's this ghost on stage?
KFC bucket on your head.
Yeah. I'm the trans bucket head. Yeah.
And are you playing back to back then? Like,
yeah.
And so the Bloody Hell's playing separately than you guys. Like, they're
yeah,
gonna
I
play...
believe so. I think the order is Bloody Hell, then Worst Part, then Cluttered, then
awesome.
Propagandhi. So it's sweet. Like, Worst Part's really fun. It's just like, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to learn those riffs, because they're not something I always listen to. They're a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but then like, when I play them, I get to inject like my other influences. Like, I listen to a lot of like Washington DC hardcore and bands like Fugazi and Rites of Spring and like Embrace and all of that stuff. So I get to like incorporate some of those elements and like play with some of the weirder times. And then like, I don't need to, like, I know what Cluttered is, and I know like the songs that I write, what I'm trying to accomplish with them.
Mm-hmm.
Worst Part is like a vehicle for Andrew's thoughts, and I'm just there to like hang out and have fun and like throw down when it's time to throw down.
But I find when someone else's music, when you're playing your instrument, you do express an emotion. So if you're not feeling it, it's hard to initially get yourself into it. Yeah.
Worst Part played a show. One of my first shows with Worst Part was opening for Cancer Bats in like probably 2018 now. And I remember vividly, like, at the time we were a 3-piece, and the other 2 members of the band were like very like nervous or whatever. And I just kind of went up and I was like, I don't really care. I like threw my bass into the ceiling of the marquee at one point and like caught it. And I was just like there to have fun. And like, it didn't matter. I could just like thrash around, and I still pulled it off. Like, I take a lot of pride in the fact that I'm able to be adaptable and fit into these different situations. Like, Century Egg doesn't sound like any of the other bands that I'm in, and neither does Worst Part. But like, I just bring like, the thing I just try to bring to things is like an honesty and like a punk ethos and like kind of that vibe to different projects, because you don't necessarily need to like have every band sound exactly the same. And I think I do an okay job of that. Like, there's an itch to scratch with every different project.
Yeah.
You definitely fall into that when you said about the Washington DC, that kind of punk scene from years ago. Everything about you, to me, we're a little bit different in age, but probably not too far. The Washington area with the underground pop festivals that they would have of all.
Yeah.
It super reminds me of all the bands that you have your DNA on. That's the idea that I get when I think back of those old compilations and everything, is that it was a mishmash of bands that had a similar energy as far as that do-it-yourself. But to listen to the bands individually, there's no genre there that to unify them.
People are like,
it's the vibe of the people that build those bands.
Well, people will be like, oh, Discord Records is a hardcore label. And you're like, yeah, they put out Government Issue and Minor Threat and like State of Alert and Youth of Today and a bunch of like actual hardcore bands. And then at the same time, they're like doing the evens, or like, you know, Fugazi, they put all the Fugazi catalog out on that. And that's almost like one that you can't even define to genre, because it's like song to song, what they're drawing from is just like so varied and so different. And like, if I could build a life through music with as much like honesty and conviction as like Ian Mackay has done, then like I'm, you know, it's like lofty goals, but it's like, no, that's the benchmark. That's like the high water mark of like staying true to yourself and staying true to something, and like wanting to do better.
Yeah,
and
because
like
they've
to build a
always
scene.
they did it their way right from the get go, and I mean
They
what,
were
they're in their
they were like
third decade or fourth maybe even at some point.
the first release was the Teen Idols, which was Ian Mackay's first band when he was 16, maybe 16 or 17, like very young, maybe even younger, because it predates Minor Threat. And they were just kids when they did the Minor Threat recording, and they like were like, how do you press a record? How do you go to a studio? How do you do these things? And it's just like they're asking the right questions, and they're like making it all work.
And their message is like the theme behind their lyrical content wouldn't have been very popular at the time, but now in 2022, it's the majority opinion that you see out there, unless you're watching only exclusively right-wing media. That is the general societal opinion now. Like many, many years later now, if they came out today, everyone would just think that they were touting the popular line. But they've been just saying it their own way the whole time and found their fans along the way.
Exactly. I mean, like, you know, I personally, I love making merch for bands specifically, so it's like not in the way to like sell to make money, but just so that it exists and it's a cool thing and it's like memorable and whatever. But like Fugazi was like, we don't do t-shirts, we don't do this, and like they have the song Merchandise, which is literally like you know, you have no control is one of the lyrics, and it's just like, oh, like if you get into that machine and it gets too big, like you do have no control over it. Like it's just like it ends up being like something bigger than you. And then you're like, you know, you go to H&M and you see like Misfits t-shirts and you're like, oh, that's really strange. Obviously different ideologies, and like that band is a whole thing in and of itself, and we could talk about it for hours, I'm sure. But like, it's just, you know, DIY is really important to me. Yeah. I literally have it tattooed on my leg. DIY forever. Like, I would love to work with the label. I would love to do that. But like, at my core being of a person, like I'm still just like, I'm that same kid that wants to go play at Radstorm or wants to like see bands and be excited and like be stoked on what's happening. And I'm really fortunate that I've spent so much time in Halifax to like become a person that maybe other people will feel inspired to start their own bands, and then we can play shows together. Yeah.
So if people do want to find you, where can we find you online? There's a lot out there.
There's a lot out there. The best place to find me personally is probably my Instagram account. It's at mattydisgrace. So my first name and then the word disgrace. At Cluttered Band is also an Instagram account. Twitter is at mattydisgrace, and at Cluttered Band. Sorry, I just blanked for a second. Yeah. Modern Cynics doesn't do social media. You can kind of, like, if you were to list a bunch of bands, everything is like something band or the name of the thing or whatever. Like Future Girls is like Future Girls HFX or something on Instagram. But it's definitely like, as I said earlier, excuse me, I pride myself very much in like being an accessible person. So like if somebody's like, I think your band is rad, like, cool, you want to just talk as people, like reach out and you can find me. And I'm severely online, so like, you know, people can find me all the time, and I'm there.
Yeah. So, yeah, if anyone wants to check that out, I've found Instagram. You're fairly busy there, and everything that you kind of do kind of ties back into your personal Instagram. So,
Yeah,
It's all-
it's kind of like there's a lot of dual posting. The personal Instagram is just like band stuff and pictures of my cat. So it's like two things that I care very deeply about.
yeah.
That's Dakota, my daughter's. She's made a couple of little cameos on the podcast already. That's her favorite thing is all of the bands that she's met or seen through the podcast. Everyone has a cat. So she likes to sit there when I'm on social media and look for cat pictures. Like, oh,
Yeah.
there's Maddie's cat. Or we just, Connor Booth, his cat was on there just right after we interviewed him. It's
Yeah, it's great. We all have pets that we love, and we were joking that we're gonna get Cluttered merch made where it's just like pictures of all of our pets on it.
awesome. Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might happen at some point. But yeah, it's just like, just reach out if you want, and also if you don't want and you just want to listen to the music and keep the mystique of the artist, like that's cool too. Like whatever people want to do, as long as you're not like creepy about it. I'll preface that.
Don't be a creep.
Don't be a creep. You know, if you're chill, I'm chill.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how that goes.
There we go. And we'll link. We'll put a list of the bands that Maddie's in our description, and you can find all that yourself. If you know how to work the internet, you can find it. The names
Yeah,
are pretty easy to find, and
everything's on Spotify, everything's on Apple Music, everything's on Tidal.
yeah,
You can, you know, Bandcamp especially, like you can find me and you can support the dream of this like weirdo trans queer person from the East Coast who's just trying to like do a good job.
yeah, and it's working. And if you guys want to find us, we have a link tree. Everything's in the link tree. We did become part of the COG and started a Facebook group. Our Discord wasn't really picking up, so Facebook, here we are. But trying to create a kind of a community there for people to talk music of the East Coast. And until tomorrow night, as of the airing this,
Yes.
Maddie will be playing opening for Propagandhi. We will be there.
Yes.
We'll bring a sticker for you.
Thank you.
Maybe, yeah. And for now, this is Where No One Knows My Name. It is a Enemy U cover by Cluttered and talk show host. And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
I try to stop the world every day with my last breath, but it turns anyway 1,000,000 times and 1,000,000 days. Hey, maybe it'll stop today. No way. I'll never let it get the best of me. So I think about it constantly. Compulsive obsession in my mind, and maybe it'll go away. Well, okay, I wanna go where I can say the words I can't get out of my brain, and where there are no games to play, where nobody knows my name. Sometimes it hurts, and logic will never rescue me. Sometimes it hurts. I love to hear with your fucking sympathy. Something's ticking like a clock. What's that ticking? Someone make it stop. I want peace of mind and I want it now, not just someday. never rescue me. Sometimes it hurts. I'm up to here with your fucking sympathy.